Ready. Check Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. That's right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. That's right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. I said Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Rewriters Room. We are the men with the pen. It is another beautiful week of wrestling, and we have a lot to get to. Before that, I definitely want to introduce myself. My name is Armand Sadler, leader of the All My Niggas Hate Carry On Cross Hive, leader of Wrestling is Great, Stop Being a Dork About It Hive, and just happy to be here, happy to be black and beautiful, and autumn is here, so I could really start dressing. Call me Ranch. Let me introduce my co-host, though. Yeah, no, I don't do this alone. CC, how you feeling, my brother?
Call me Ranch. Don't just drop bars and then walk away like you ain't just do something. Okay.
It's light. It's light.
Nigga.
It's light.
For anybody who wondering whose silky voice that is, what's good is CC, the best rapper and producer in the whole wide world. God body because I consume healthy products and do towel curls. Benevolent servant to the earth, a philanthropist. And every phrase that I say is a gem like amethyst. You could put any nigga on this globe, pick him out with the big hand from Smash Bros. Sit him right next to me. Dope ass women gonna look at that nigga like, yo, whose man is this? I may talk a lot, but I only got one thing to say: love yourself and keep going. You are the world. Give all you can. Take care of your body, your people, and your land. Where that nigga Grand Chan?
What's going on, y'all? Reporting live from the mid car. The Dundada of the mid car mafia. Grandpa Chan. Hope you guys had a blessed week of wrestling. Hope you guys, saw some people of color. Because if you watch certain shows, maybe you didn't. So I hope you saw some people in the ring who got paid a lot of money to wrestle, who, maybe voted this year. So that's all I hope for you.
Jesus!
So this is our season finale of season 2 of the Rewriters Room, and we do have a very special guest to join us. But before we get to that, Chan, you got some exciting news about another show that you are bringing to the RNC network. Can you let us know what we can expect from you coming soon?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So by the time you guys are hearing this, we will have fully made the transition over. My other podcast, I'm on the BLT podcast, Black Lunch Table. It's officially joining RNC Network. It's kind of a mutual meeting of the minds, kind of like when Star-Lord saw Captain America for the first time. It's like, we have our crew. We would love to join what you guys are doing to fight Thanos. Really feel like you could help you out in certain ways. They said, awesome. We need some more aliens. We need some more raccoons. Let's bring you into the fold. And, things just kind of worked out perfectly. BOT podcast, for those of you who haven't listened yet, it's pretty straightforward. People send us questions. We answer them. Anything from like relationships to pizza toppings to pornography. We do BLT After Dark quite often. That is, we get a lot of questions, but that's what I want to talk about. So, sex positive, sex revolution. Let's get to it. Sex education season 4 is out. So thank you everybody who's listening. Thank you everybody who's going to listen. We love the support. We love all the comments, likes, shares. We just love RNC. Glad to be here. Glad to bring some of my friends into the fold. I think it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Yes, welcome to the Black Podcast Monopoly. But this Black Podcast Monopoly would not exist without some of the shows that our incredible guest contributes to. So he is one half of RSPN with Jeff, a.k.a. one of the gems from Recut Gems, a.k.a. the genius behind I Am Not a Genius, a.k.a. the maniac on Twitch that you should watch without blinking. Now, I hope you caught those bars. Twitch, blinking, you might catch him on the way home. A.k.a. the Terramana terrorist. This is none other than my brother, Marc. Marc, how you feeling, man?
I feel so. Oh man, y'all got some intros on y'all. I should have came prepared. I should have came prepared with some of my joint. I should have came prepared with a joint that makes it feel a little bit different. I'm feeling great. It feels good to be in here.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you. We're gonna have a good time. Marc is one of the funniest people I know. Had a pleasure meeting him, hanging with him twice while he was in New York City. Yeah, and he's back in good old West Palm Beach doing his thing. You catch him on Twitch, 3 times a week, right? Tuesdays, Thursdays.
Thursday nights and Friday nights. A little bit of late night on Friday night action. But again, thank y'all so much for being with me throughout the Twitch stream. It's been a whole lot of fun as the NBA has been on its downtime, and usually you would hear from myself and, of course, the Platinum Chanel boy himself, Jeff, on RSPN. Our 5th season will be during the week of NBA tip-off, which will be, I believe, October 17th, if I have that date correctly. Today was not the best foot forward for NBA-related news. I think things are going to hopefully be just fine by the time that we get to the middle of October.
Yeah. Definitely sending prayers to Bradley Beal, Andrew Wiggins, Kyrie Irving, because they
Kyle Kuzma,
Jonathan Isaacs.
Yeah. They're smoking a pack that I don't think I want access to. Like, you can keep that pack away from me, but
thankfully in the rest of the world things have felt a whole lot better.
Yeah. I mean, if there are people with problematic beliefs by them, at least they all are at once saying, "Oh yeah, like this is violating HIPAA," or "I watched Trump press conferences," or all the bullshit that's been spewed by these NBA players. So praying for them because a lot of their teams are going to need them, and but I'm looking forward to this NBA season, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it. There's a lot of storylines that are just intriguing. There's the Lakers, there's the Nets. Will they be fully healthy? If so, what are they going to do? Of course, Miami Heat got Kyle Lowry now, so I'm sure you're feeling good about that. But yeah, this should be an interesting season. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having RSPM back because you guys make every week of the Alpha Sport that much more entertaining to tune into.
Thank you, yo. I think I'd say if there's one thing that NBA does not underdeliver on is definitely the storyline portion. So I think going into 2021 and 2022 season, there's going to be a lot to talk about, but hopefully we can do it as easy as possible and without a whole lot of the mess that we saw yesterday.
Yeah. Quick question before we jump into our actual stuff for the day. I'm always interested in how like the people in RNC met each other. So Justin came on first season. He told us how he got the idea for it, told us how he met Meals, who also came on. We had Quan on. And so for you, like, how did you get connected to the people in RNC, and how did this become a collaborative, creative relationship where you're doing one of the best basketball podcasts and music podcasts that I've ever listened to?
Man, first of all, thank you for that. And secondly, it's so everybody has their own story on how people met, because there's so many different like times that people have been added towards the group and produced within the group as well. When you met me, as a matter of fact, I met Meals for the first time that same night too.
That's crazy.
And I met Rob for the first time that night as well, and Nelson and Carlos. And outside of that, I've seen like a couple of the RNC affiliate within California. I've met some within Florida. I've seen Jeff multiple times, been out to Atlanta, so on and so forth. But man, it's just been I couldn't even tell. I know it definitely went down online. Just being able to have a whole bunch of like-minded individuals that wanted to be able to tell stories, produce things, invent things, and try and build stories in ways that we were not hearing online at that point in time. Because when it talks about podcasting is damn near decades in as of right now. And we had our things that we'd like to listen to and our genres and our topics that we'd like to listen to, but we knew that we also had things that we had experienced, not only within our corporate area and then the jobs that we had, but also just being able to tell stories that we have also seen within certain industry perspectives that we think needed a little bit more eyes compared to what the story was being told to online. So as that happened, then we ended up linking. We ended up being able to put a lot of names to faces and figure out what we wanted to talk about, what we wanted to provide our voices to. And thankfully, there were so many people that were able to listen and enjoy the story with us. And with that, we have built so many different podcasts, met so many different people that have been so pivotal to the process of what we have built in between that time. And that's one of the things that I think I'm very much so the most thankful for.
Yeah, man. Nah, it's it just feels like an organic brotherhood, and you can't top that. So it's great to be a part of. It was great to finally meet you and everyone else. And hopefully when things get better, you know, I know they do the RNC barbecue every year. So hopefully if that comes back, we can make it out there and just have an even bigger link up. So
yeah, the 2022 barbecue is definitely something that's been joked about, talked about. There's already a race. If you want to join the race, we're probably going to have that on some random street in Los Angeles.
okay.
It's already been talked about that I will be barefoot in between this race because I usually run faster as I am barefoot. Sounds like a little bit of a West Indian thing. It might be, it might not be. But if you want to join the race, feel free to do so. There might be other gym-related things that are going on within the barbecue as well, along with some very good food, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, we see the RNC Cooks page. Yeah, everybody be cooking. So one thing that is undeniable is we gonna eat well. We gonna eat well.
Yeah, you see the gems.
Yeah, man. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you know you can subscribe to our Patreon / the A Show RNC for bonus content from the Rewriters Room. Early listens of the Rewriters Room, the A Show, the War Report, of course, Invasion Diaries, which Marc was a part of. You could hear him on that. The bonus content from WWE 2K22 coming up. You can hear that as well. There's a bunch of different things for y'all and different merch options and the A-list, which has started to come out that you can participate in. So give us your coins. We're worth it. And yeah, you shouldn't regret it. So fellas, very busy 2 weeks in wrestling. We're going to focus on AEW Dynamite, Grand Slam, Rampage Grand Slam, and Extreme Rules. So let's jump into our recap of the last 2 weeks. Our guest, let's start with you, man. What's something that you know really stuck out to you, something you enjoyed or disliked, and that you would like to talk about with the men with the pen?
So we talked about a good amount of this in the Twitter Spaces
Yes.
that the A Show was able to produce after Extreme Rules, and incredible conversation that was coming from that, and those that had also jumped in, gave their 2 cents on what had happened, and in my eyes was a pretty enjoyable pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Those that are more interested in finding areas to critique will find that the end of the SmackDown Women's Championship and the Universal Championship will probably be the focal point of their conversations when talking about Extreme Rules, when really, previous to that, it was very, very enjoyable. And even in my opinion, the matches themselves for the SmackDown Women's Championship and the Universal Championship were also very, very enjoyable, even if you want to critique the ending to both of those, which is completely fair. I don't think any of those critiques are unfair, unnecessary, and try and play down a lot of the wrestling that had happened before the finishes. I think everybody really understands that those were 2 very, very solid matches for those 2 championships. But for me, I'm not so mad at the end of the Universal Championship because I enjoy a good I kind of enjoy a good whodunit. I know a lot that were on the Spaces did not really enjoy the Karry feel of the Demon getting his heartbeat back, jumping up, getting huge amount of powers, the music playing over it, almost beating Roman Reigns, and then boom, the third rope just completely shatters and everything just turns back to normal. Completely fine in that case, but there's gonna be a lot that we get from that conversation, or at least I hope so. I think WWE will start to see that we really do want answers as to what the fuck happened, because so many of us were so confused, 1, on how the rope broke, and 2, who the hell even loosened the rope by the time that Finn got his way up there at that point in time? And it could be an area where there's multiple culprits that are being blamed, multiple people that try and set each other up. And for those that are very familiar with their Attitude Era nostalgia, I think that's something that you would really appreciate if they go down that line. But we'll have to wait until Friday to actually see that happen.
Yeah, no, 100%. CC, you look enthused. Go ahead, brother.
Bruh, I got multiple things to say about what you just said. First thing is, Shannon, I had just finished watching that match right before I got on this call. And as I was watching the match the whole time, I just wanted to call Shannon to be like, okay, I understand Demon now. Like I get it.
I'm here
nigga.
For the cool shit. I don't
when
care
that
if
nigga
it's
got
real.
his heartbeat back, nigga.
Bro.
Yeah, that wasn't hot.
I instantly turned 9 again. That shit was hard.
Nigga hit the self-revive from Warzone. He hit himself with the self-revive.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, this nigga just hit himself with a stem shot back in the game. This shit is hilarious. So that was amazing. And two, to your point, so I've been saying this on the pod for a minute. I've been watching the old Attitude, like when it from the moment the Attitude Era like immediately started with Stone Cold and everything going on with that. And now I'm in 98. I'm in late 98 right now. And this is Stone Cold beating the shit out of Vince McMahon with the bedpan. Like, this is that hamming it up. But what you forget is, like, what the fuck was niggas talking about the next day at school? How great that fucking Hurricanrana was, or like shit like that. Like, they was talking about random shit. Like, you got to think about it. Like, their target audience is 13, 14, 15-year-olds and shit like that, or whatever. Like, niggas, as much as you want to see a great wrestling match, having a mystery like who the fuck just dropped the ropes and shit like that is amazing. Like, because now you got people talking about it, people wondering about it. And you know what the amazing thing about it is, and I'm gonna hit y'all with some game, like if you ever building up a product or anything, you definitely want to get feedback from people as early as possible or whatever. Just get kind of like your basic idea out there or whatever. So what that also does is they can take this story, put that nugget out there, see how y'all react to it, and use some of y'all reactions to build the story up and make it really good. And y'all motherfuckers don't even know y'all part of the game. This is how genius this nigga Vince is or whatever. Just putting y'all on some game right there. So this shit works on multiple levels. And then to your last point, Mark, how you can get multiple people involved, people turning on each other and shit. Think about it. The draft is coming up and whatever. Like, you're about to get a bunch of personalities that haven't been around each other before or have been around each other before. And the last time it wasn't sweet or whatever. So with this controversy coming up, you know, it's stirring up the pot. It's stirring up the pot. That's why I like what they got along with Alexa Bliss shit.
Yeah.
Like, it just stirs up the pot. This is like little shit that keeps you talking. Because, yes, we could sell the wrestling, but if we selling just the wrestling, we'd be like the mother niggas. We got other shit, too. Yeah. That's what they saying. So you got to be there for the entertainment, man. That shit is amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, it took no more than 10 minutes for Twitter to have 8 different names. And say, I think it's him because he did this last week. And then, no, it can't be him. It's got to be him. He hasn't been here for months. It took no more than 10 minutes to get a list of names, and that's with no type of interaction or cooperation with the WWE. So I think it's gonna be fun when we see it on Friday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I 100% agree, and like I think just the diversity of opinion that we had in the spaces, because I came in with a take, kind of some fantasy booking where I felt like when I saw the rope break and Finn fall and like clutch his knee, my immediate thought was like, yo, did his like demon power like over consume him to the point where he just got screwed over? And like people in the spaces didn't really agree with it. I'm like, all right, that's fine. But that was my perspective on it. It's just like there's so many directions you can go. You can go Heyman loosened it. You can go Usos loosened it. You can someone's in our Discord said Seth. Someone said someone else. Or it could just be like Finn like used the demon powers too much and then like it like rejected him. Like because he was trying to beat Roman Reigns. I don't know. Like there's some like alternate universe within the WWE that they're creating now. we don't fucking know. But that's the exciting part about it is I can't wait to watch Friday to see what happens. And like a lot of people in the spaces are also saying they feel like the demon is finished. Finn is finished. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think this feud is gonna end with that match the way that it ended, because you gotta think about it. Finn's first Universal title match against Roman, the Usos beat him up beforehand. So he was already fighting at a disadvantage, and he still gave us a classic, and it looked like he was almost going to beat Roman at a certain point. Then the Demon comes, the Usos come again. He fights them off, and then the rope collapses, and he hurts his knee, and Roman spears him. Like these haven't necessarily been clean victories, and for the Demon to lose in that way, I feel like that just sets up more of a redemption angle for him, whether it's Finn coming back as the Demon or being like, nah, I got to do this as the man. I'm done with the Demon shit. Because like this is what I said in the spaces too, like. When he went back to NXT, he didn't go back to the Demon at all. Like he was Finn the Prince the entire time, and this was like the best he's been in his career at all. So when he went back to the Demon, I was excited about it, but I was like, he doesn't really need this. Like I'm sure it's going to produce a good match. And when they did that whole resurrection segment, I was like, oh yeah, that's just perfect. Like give him a soundtrack and everything. Like he went crazy. Like, but I don't know. I just feel like Finn and Roman, that there's more that they can do with it. And I don't think it's over for him. And I honestly, and I said this a couple episodes ago, I just feel like they're giving him that babyface push where like he gets multiple opportunities, but there's always something getting in the way. Like he loses, but he hasn't lost clean. Like there's something getting in the way for him, and eventually it's just gonna make when he overcomes that much sweeter. So I'm looking forward to how that long-term storytelling goes, especially with the whole Brock being in the mix thing. Like that just makes it so much more interesting. Like if you give us a triple threat, Finn, Brock, Roman, I'm here for it. Inject it into my veins. I'm here for it. So I'm just very intrigued at what they do next with this for sure.
I just want you guys to keep tabs on. There's another guy who had a wrestling match this week who wears just plain colored shorts and some boots, who got his first 5-star match. I will keep track on the comparisons that people start to make with Finn Balor and Daniel Bryanson. That's what I'm talking about.
Daniel Bryanson.
I just feel like what we're about to see is kind of like you're talking about that baby face run. I feel like Vince is going to position Finn in that, not obviously that same exact storyline, but I think that's who's going to take that place in kind of his archetype. Because, Vince knows that like y'all little Twitter heads love a small guy. So he's got to keep at least one or two in the chamber. And I think he's going to put Finn, because like you said, on NXT, you didn't really see the Demon. Like he had the one match with the X, but he was very adamant about like there was no fake dreads, no smoke, which, I like, but, he didn't want to do it. That's his decision. I wouldn't be surprised though if we start seeing a bit less of the Demon stuff and more of like work rate, kind of like wrestling darling Prince Devitt Finn Balor. And like that kind of fills the void that people are missing from, that Daniel Bryan place in their heart. I could really see that kind of be where we're launching it, kind of going in the future, especially because we do have like other quasi supernatural characters on the show where you don't necessarily have to have the Demon. You have other people who can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So Chan, you got Range Brothers written here. What's up? Talk to us. Amazing, brother.
One thing I'm a mid-card enthusiast, but as well, I love a tag team. I love a pure, we're not really in this for solo runs. We're in this, for the love of the tag, And one thing we really haven't seen in a while is a good brother pairing. We had the Good Brothers. Didn't really hit the way they thought it would. Yeah. We had the Bludgeon Brothers, while RIP still was never really over. The last probably good brother we had was like the Hardys. That was probably the last brothers. But I think we have one in NXT. I think the Creed brothers are absolutely electric. It's dynamite watching them wrestle every single time. Because you never, like, they might kill somebody. Like, they're very excited about everything they do. Like, they might just actually, like, really wrestle somebody. Like, it's electric every time they wrestle. And you put them with Malcolm Bivens, who is, like, for 2020, like, Paul Heyman's a great manager in any generation, but specifically for 2021, Malcolm Bivens is, like, perfect as a manager. He's, like, the right amount of, like, snarky and, like, funny, but he's also, like, very good on Twitter and can be very serious. Like, even when he does, like, Roderick Strong's promos, he, like, someone came out and challenged Roderick Strong, and he, like, you know, like, had a little powwow with Roderick, and the guy started talking, and he just mimics he's so annoying, but he's so good at it. And I think pairing him with someone who, if you don't know, they're like legitimately like wrestling royalty, like Minnesota wrestlers. So they're very physically talented, but you can tell, like I said, they're very raw in the ring, but they just have this passion where you can hear them just yelling. And like, you can tell they're really like love wrestling. Like they just like just getting on the ground and just throwing bodies around. So they have the commitment, which as we saw with the Bad Bunny, if you have the commitment, that can take you so far, you know, and then they have that Lake Town on top of that. I just feel like if you keep them with Malcolm, kind of like what we saw with AOP, is that you can kind of have these two massive mountains with a good manager, and that just will work really in any era. And I just think the Creed brothers with Malcolm Bivens, Diamond Mine's a cool name, and it's like the concept is like cool with the like the gear and the Vince. Like it's a very nice package where you could see, like, again, Vince loves his big boys, he loves his horses. You could see them really doing a lot on the main roster because, like, again, they've had some like squash matches. They haven't really worked with anyone super like talented to really dance with, but like you could see them in the future really getting a chemistry and like working some nice like TLC matches. Like they just seem like that type where they'll just give it. Like, I will legitimately frog splash off this steel cage onto the announce table. Like, let's just Vince, let's do it tonight. Like, so I just really excited for them. You know, I love the commitment. I'm just really excited to see where they go in NXT and, you know, the main roster and beyond.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, NXT 2.0, like, So many people, all the narratives of NXT is about to die. Vince is going to have too much control over it. Pritchard, Kevin Dunn, all this. The last 2 weeks of NXT 2.0 have been great to me.
Yeah, been real good to me.
Bro, we have seen so many new faces. Like we're getting accustomed to a new era of NXT people, and they still got the vets who are like carrying the flag, and you can tell like Tommaso is invested in Braun Breaker. Pete Dunne is invested in working with these people. It just feels like it feels right. It feels like a very seamless transition as some people are going up. We expect like a couple people who are there just biding time till the draft probably, but it's felt great. And like Creed Bros, you got Trick Williams, his name is right. Trick Williams,
Carmelo
like
Hayes, Trick
bro,
Williams,
like this,
aka Crime Mob, aka the Hot Boys.
Bro,
when I say Vince said, we about to get ethnic, dog. Like Vince said, you thought our truth was bad? Nah. We about to get mad urban on USA. Bro. I hope y'all ready for it.
But it's great because we're just seeing so many different personalities. Like there's no one archetype anymore. Like all these people are viable to whether they're to be a champion or just to be a top act also, on the promotion.
One thing you notice a lot when you see matches too, and this is like kind of similar, but in a serious vein, like how many times you'll watch a NXT or a 205 live match, you see, first Indonesian superstar, first Chinese superstar, first Indian superstar. Like they've gotten so diverse, and you could tell it's like a point where like, oh, this is the first Peruvian superstar. Like every single time it happens, they make a point to like highlight it. This is the first XYZ place from XYZ place, and then you could tell they're just trying to grow that base, get different types of viewership, get different types of markets. Like it's really like cool. Even someone who doesn't necessarily relate to everything, just be able to see like, oh, like they have such a different like flavor of wrestlers, like just where you could be from anywhere, have any kind of gimmick. It's not just like, oh, the African wrestler is an African gimmick. It's like, oh no, this wrestler just is Panamanian or whatever it is. Like I think that's cool too with some of them. So I'm really into what they're doing in NXT and just with this new talent they're just throwing to the fire and just kind of seeing what sticks.
100%. And Cece, I feel like this transitions well into your pre-write here. You talk about the continent. So please elaborate on that a little more, my brother.
Look, man, I really mean no offense by this at all, because the 40 times I watched y'all wrestle before, I liked it or whatever. But I had to watch Sheamus, Damian Priest, and Jeff Hardy for like what felt like the 300th time for the United States Championship. And here I am just like thinking in my head, I'm like, yo, remember when like certain people had the Intercontinental Championship and that shit meant something? Where the fuck is the respect for that shit, man? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, what we got going on with Shinsuke and Apollo, at first I thought it was going to be kind of like an elite kind of thing, but I could tell they're kind of like hamming it up. And, you know, not to my dismay or anything like that. I understand, like, Rick Boogs gets over with the kids fucking crazy. You got to serve that is right there. And Nakamura, too. Just the way Nakamura is, that naturally gets along, like, with what kids would like and all that stuff. I totally understand that. But we got all these fucking wrestlers and this belt right here. Like, y'all could do that shit just as like a feud. Y'all don't even need the belt for this shit. Let's like, come on, man. What's going on? What happened? Where's the respect for the Intercontinental Championship? Like in my head, I was just thinking like, where's the respect for it? And then two, who the hell would I want to see in that spot that I haven't really seen before or whatever? And then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, they haven't really positioned anybody to make me like feel like, oh, you know what? I feel like so-and-so should have it. Like, come on, like what's going on?
I feel like that's one of the kind of you're talking about before with the holding pattern for the draft. I feel like the U.S. title is kind of in that space. Like I think they like Damian Priest and he's getting over to an extent, but I think his actual kind of like, if they're going to have a star making feud, it will have to be after the draft with someone else. Now, maybe someone else will use Damian Priest as their star making feud. I don't know. But that has always felt like to me, like you kind of see what the WWE title is doing. You kind of see what the Universal title is doing. Intercontinental title just started that feud, like you said. It seems like the tag titles and the United States Championship are kind of the ones where like, okay, maybe on draft night, someone, the Miz will debut again and beat Damian Priest or something like that. Like that just seems like kind of me. That's what they're saving that spot for. But I do agree with you where it's like, and this kind of thought, this is almost my like free ride was going to be like, are we going to see another Jeff Hardy title run? Because I feel like you might as well have done it at this point. Because nothing else is really going on with U.S. title. Like, just throw it on him. Just see what happens. You know, like he turns on Twitter often. Yeah, but you knew he wasn't. You knew he was going to take some type of kill.
I was like, yo, just win, fam. Like, please.
just give him the belt.
Yes.
Make it stop. It's
a lot of people pitching for a Jeff Hardy title run, but I'm just like, yo, is that what y'all want? Like, I watch him in ring, and granted, like the U.S. title match, Extreme Rules was a good match, but like overall, he's not like. The moment would be cool, of course, like, oh, Jeff Hardy got it, cool. But then he's got to defend it afterwards. And he's a shell of his former self. Like the charisma and the love we have for him, it won't be enough for me to really legitimize, like, oh, this Jeff Hardy title run, like, it's fine. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, yo, nah. Like he's barely hitting swantons anymore. I'm not with it. So I don't know about that. Like, I think it would be cool to see him chase. Or maybe him get the U.S. title and put over a young talent, but a world title. People talking about world title run for Jeff. I'm like, nah, bro. I'm good off that. I'm very much.
You know what's gonna happen? Do you know what's gonna fucking happen? LA Knight is gonna debut on Raw and win it. That's gonna happen.
And win the U.S. title?
Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be. It's because like you can tell.
Need it.
They have such a hard on for LA Knight. Like they do.
They do.
Like he had 2 matches on the premiere of NXT 2.0.
Hey, bro.
He did.
He lost twice.
Yeah, bro.
He lost twice.
Fam, when they did
First
that
and
at the beginning
match
of the episode, I was like, wait, isn't this guy going to be in the championship? Wait, hold on.
Yes.
What? I know I'm kind of new to this, but what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, they love LA. So I could see that happen. Like something just like that. Like LA Knight premieres on some Carlito shit, shocks Damian Priest, and they have a nice feud. Because they can probably have some chemistry. They're similar size guys. Both can wrestle. Like I'm surprised they didn't do that with like a Dijakovic, but I could see something like that where you get Priest in a feud with some guy who can also wrestle. Maybe you give it to Keith Lee on a return. You know, I don't know what the status of that is, but I just feel like it'll be something of note is what it'll be for.
And I will say, in regards to the view of the Intercontinental Championship, I will say that Apollo Crews really started off this year getting that championship into like a very good picture of him fighting for that. Like we're not very far removed from him and Big E at WrestleMania in that Nigerian drum match to fight for that Intercontinental Championship. And it's a belt that I would say Apollo really, really needed at a certain point in time because people just wanted to see Apollo succeed. And within those past couple of months of him holding the championship, doing very well with it, having title defenses, of course he lost it to Shinsuke on SmackDown. But now that the draft's coming, I would say that the championship match that we saw last week, might be an area where that ends Apollo's portion on SmackDown, and maybe we can do different things on Raw. We had talked about this last night, and I kind of feel the same way in that type of sense. The way that he did so well with that Intercontinental Championship match, I wouldn't be too mad if you throw him back in with Big E again. There was plenty of chemistry in between that feud. Big E is the WWE champion. A lot of us want to see more black wrestlers not even fight for that WWE championship, but also win that WWE championship. Doesn't necessarily mean that Apollo Crews has to be the next WWE champion, but to be able to see these one-on-one fights in areas that we are asking more of, and you're producing a whole lot more without really throwing it directly in our face and trying to remind us that you're doing it, I think would be beneficial. And I don't think too many people will be mad at seeing Apollo Crews say this isn't over. We had our fight for the Intercontinental Championship. You have something that's a whole lot more it looks a whole lot more lucrative to me. And I'm not going anywhere. This Nigerian nail ain't going nowhere either. So stay there. I want to fight for this championship. So for whomever Shinsuke, if the Intercontinental Championship does stay on SmackDown, because you never know. Draft could come and the U.S. and the Intercontinental swap, and now U.S. is on SmackDown, Intercontinental's on Raw. If it stays on SmackDown, whoever Shinsuke fights next for that Intercontinental Championship, I think will be put into some very high position. But now it's done so much for Apollo Crews that now we have an option to see him hopefully do a whole lot more if he makes his way over to Raw, because he's still producing in areas that I think a lot of people enjoy to be able to see him on TV every week.
Yeah, man. Like, you got to remember that feud, it was a personal thing. Like, the title just like Big E had the title, but it was more personal than anything. Big E told him to go back to catering. Like, and then Apollo ends up beating him. Yeah. And he ends up beating him. So it's like, that's easily something you could run back that I would love to see. Like, I think it is Apollo's time to go back to Raw with Aziz. And it would be cool to see like a one-off with him and Big E. And then I want Apollo and Aziz versus Omos and AJ Styles. That's
man.
That's what I want to see.
Aziz and Omos.
That's like we need that. We need that. It's the perfect pairing. You got two big meaty men, and then you got two athletic dudes who fly. Come on, like it's perfect. Whether it's for the tag titles or not, it's just for Nigerian Nigerian superiority. Like there's only room for one of us on here.
Yeah. And after last night, Big E's already got a whole lot in his play. AJ Styles is aiming at his head. Bobby Lashley is we're literally in the middle of Bobby Lashley probably trying to get ready.
Bobby Lashley's beating his ass right now. I'm watching it. He's beating his ass right now.
So give us a number one contenders match with AJ and Apollo. Whoever wins, they get it. They interrupt the winner's match with Big E, and then AJ and Apollo feud with their big dudes behind it. It sells itself. It sells itself.
Can I say one more thing that I think I never thought I would say?
Go ahead.
They should have kept it white. They should have kept it white.
Oh, they got some
white. It looks a little cooler when it was white. That's all I was gonna say. Definitely keep the wrestlers white. But I just feel like it popped a little harder when it was. Like, it's not an ugly belt by any means, but I just like even the old school interaction with the blue in it. I just like the little splash of color it had, and I saw that it popped. Even the U.S. title now, like the gold pops, and I just like. Yeah. I'm a Booker T guy. You know I love the big gold, so I'm always here for a big gold belt.
I hear you.
But if not, it's a little white. It was just a different look, so I thought they could bring that back.
Mm-hmm. So my pre-write, real quick. I'll try to keep it quick. Although I think we could end up having a longer discussion about this. So last night, not last night. I don't want to date this. Extreme Rules, the penultimate match prior to Finn versus Roman was Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. Going into it, I was like, Becky's probably going to win. She's going to win by roll-up. She's going to win by some chicanery. And evidently, WWE was like, we don't want either of them to take a pin, take a submission, whatever. So we're going to insert Sasha Banks back into this. I can say I was genuinely surprised by that. And when I saw it, I was like, she's back. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not too mad at this because you got to think about it. For Bianca to have defeated Sasha for the SmackDown Women's title, to have feuded with Bayley before she got the title and after, to be in it with Becky, this is 3 out of the 4 horsewomen. So if she gets into a triple threat situation with Sasha and Becky and wins somehow, that's
she's
major.
Already faced Charlotte too. She already faced Charlotte
in a one-on-one
NXT.
Oh yes,
NXT like Rhea, like when she was down, like
you're right.
Go here, like,
yeah.
The first one she took on. So this is her 4th. She deep in the game.
and her and Charlotte have mixed it up in multiple Royal Rumble matches. So for Bianca to be put in these positions, like. Well, I know we say this every week, but for everyone who thought she was buried after SummerSlam, God, you're just so dumb. Like, no, she's money. She is, like, we were talking about it in the spaces. She could go down as, like, top 5 women all time, just from what she's accomplished already and what she's going to accomplish moving forward. Like, she's not someone you put in that position and then drop them down. Like this, I love Naomi, so it's no shade to her, but like she got it going, and then it's been rough since then, and it's not her fault. It's booking, and there are people that are more important than her. Bianca is someone who they're clearly keeping up at the top. Like to mix Sasha into this, one, I think it's genius because you can get a great triple threat match out of it, and 2, it makes it so it doesn't have to be Becky Bianca for the next 3 pay-per-views. You can do a triple threat, and then you can come back to Becky and Bianca. You could have Sasha go do something else, go to Raw, whatever. But it's just like, dog, Bianca versus the Horsewoman, because Marc brought it up in the spaces too. Like for that second where you saw Becky putting the thumbs up to Sasha, you were like, are they about to team up? Like, is this
like, yes?
Is this Horsewoman thing about to happen? And then Sasha attacks Becky, but it's like that doesn't mean anything. They can still team up a month later. And if we see the Horsewomen coming together to try to stifle Bianca Belair, that should just show you even further how much stock they have in Bianca, where they're building a faction of 4 of the arguable greatest women of all time to stop this woman.
To stop one woman.
Oh, shit.
One woman. What happened?
What?
He's watching the match. Don't spoil it for people. He's watching the Bobby Lashley match. I can tell you. All I'll say is business is back to booming, man.
Oh,
business it looks like it's back to booming.
No.
And it's black.
No.
Black.
man. Oh man. But to Armand's point, yo, I cheat when Becky put that thumbs up. I'm like, yes, fucking do it, because I knew for a fact that not only would those two be fighting with Bianca for a couple months, Bailey is already putting tweets out, winking at the Royal Rumble announcements in St. Louis. I'm like, I cannot wait for all 4 of these girls to stop this one woman, and she whoops all 4 of their ass. What are you going to say? But then Sasha ended up decking off on Becky anyway. So I was like, all right, whatever. I kind of rolled my eyes at Sasha coming out first and foremost, because at this point I'm just tired. I'm just tired. I don't know if you're gonna disappear again next month. I don't know how many matches we're gonna get from you. I don't know how many times you're gonna wrestle on TV every week. I don't know if this is just a pay-per-view thing. I don't know if you're not gonna wrestle until the Royal Rumble. I don't know. And truthfully, I'm just so tired of wanting to find out. I'm just at this point. I just want to watch it. I just want to watch it. Whether you want to be here and wrestle and do what you have to do for the remainder of your time here. If it's an area where you want to go into different ventures, anything like that, I am completely. SummerSlam was just such a stunning moment to me that at this point I'm just like, okay, whatever I get from Sasha Banks at this point, it just is what it is. I'm not clamoring for more.
100%. Yeah. Go ahead.
So here's the thing. Everything you feel right now is kind of like, or you were just saying, you were talking about, is kind of why I liked that she came back. And I like smiled when she did it, because I was like, yeah, she's really the fucking villain now. She's the villain now.
Yeah.
Like I saw the look on some of the fans' faces. Niggas were disgusted. It was amazing. I loved it. And I was like, you thought Baron Corbin could get you to hate somebody? How about when I do this shit in real life and I'm still on TV, nigga? Yeah. Still looking good, nigga. Yeah. Like that right there, like I had to, like, I looked at her and I was just like, damn, you could just do whatever you want, I guess. Shit. I was like, well, that's where we're at with Sasha, yo. I cannot believe it's because of that point. That it is what it is. Can be completely on social media, enjoying your time. Niggas can say, yo, you're gonna show up to work, and you just I want that job. I don't show up to work on one of the biggest days of my work of the year or whatever, and I just come back a couple months later. And I get to come back like on some cool shit. Not only that, I'm not in catering. I'm coming back on some cool shit.
Back into the title picture. Thrown right back into the title picture. Yeah, it's
Sasha, can you?
She's a scammer.
For consulting classes to learn how to whatever you're doing. I need to know how to I need to know how to work that shit.
Yeah.
What kind of game do you got? That shit is fire.
I have 2 notes.
Peak Forex.
Correction on something you said, Armand. Actually, technically, Bianca is a top 5 women's wrestler purely off her finisher alone. It's the top 5 finisher in the company, point blank. Like, she has the finisher, as I said many times, that Bobby Lashley that needs to have. Like, I don't know how he let her work that out in his whole career. He never thought to put that together, but she has one of the hardest finishers in the whole company. Like, that alone, in my book, will take her so many places.
And secondly, protected finishers, too.
Yeah, no one kicks out of it. And this is more of a question for you guys. So when you think about the 4 horsewomen versus Bianca and Destiny's Child, do you think they will save it for Madison Square Garden, a war game style match? Like, how do you think that, like, do you think that like Beyonce will be a surprise entrance? It'll be like a 3-on-4, or you think they'll announce her before? Can you like announce surprises before? I'm just wondering, how do you think they work Beyonce into this feud? Because that is the only real like way that this can end, in my mind, is that they have to harmonize to "I'm a Survivor" while simultaneously pinning all 4 of the horsewomen in the ring.
Beyonce's going to get that Kevin Owens War Games 2019 entrance where they're all waiting. She comes out, she screams, and she just.
What does she come out to? What is
that's the one thing
going Halo? She comes out to Halo.
You got to go harder than Halo. You might do like red light, ring the alarm. Ring the alarm might be crazy.
If freedom drums just start coming in.
Oh my god! I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Freedom. Wait, hold on.
I need a soldier.
Some hard ass entrance.
Freedom would be some hard ass shit.
Yeah.
Charlotte got nothing for that, man.
Yeah,
she got a lot of moves. She got nothing for that.
Yeah, Beyonce might cook Charlotte. Like she really might.
No, she would definitely cook Charlotte.
Ric Flair versus Jay-Z, promo on promo. I don't know. Who do you take?
Hov
versus the Nature Boy. Who do you take?
That actually is tough.
I might go Nature Boy.
Hov
got like businesses now. Rick don't care.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like Hov is a very careful and like concerned, like he's the most compassionate we've ever seen him in his life, or whatever. He's very far from the 99 Sean Carter or whatever. But Ric Flair is like basically 99 Sean Carter. Like he don't care. Like Ric Flair, like his last storyline was getting somebody pregnant.
Fucking Lacey Evans.
Like,
yeah.
Like he going through some wild shit. It's just going to overpower it.
That's true. Rick might spaz on Sean. That might get kind of ugly.
We gonna see, but we're gonna jump into our rapid fire free writes. I'm gonna fire off a question at someone, and you are gonna let us know. And if we need to discuss it, we can discuss it. So, Channing, starting with you, is Ruby Soho going to get another shot at Britt Baker?
No. Too dark. Next question.
Too dark. What?
Wait, which part? I'm weak.
Wait, which part?
Oh, like her, like skin tone. Like she's too close to being of color. Like they won't let that. They won't. Okay. They'll wait till like, I don't know, Deanna Pizarro signs with AEW, and then they'll give her the title. But you think Adam Cole's girlfriend is dropping that title?
Not anytime soon.
WWE?
Nah, not anytime soon. Okay.
She'll probably drop the title to what's the girl's name who everyone hates? She said she was like being real racist backstage. Yeah, they'll sign her. Oh, what is her name?
Chelsea Green?
No, it's not.
I was like,
he was pulling up with someone else. Nah, there was some type of damn. I forgot what her name was, yo. I forgot what her name was. It was in a completely different company.
Yeah. Tessa Blanchard, not Chelsea.
Blanchard.
Chelsea Green is kind of annoying, but
very.
That's not the specific.
Very fucking annoying.
But no, I love Ruby Soho. Like in all seriousness, I I love the Riot King. I loved her in time in WWE. Thought her and Liv could have some dope stuff as tag. But no, they protect their like people. You know who's protecting AEW, you know who's not. Even if they'll give you a fire match, in terms of results, it's very like you can kind of guess that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of surprises in terms of that type of thing. So no, probably not.
Copy. CC.
But they're making a secondary title, so maybe she'll get that.
They are, yeah. That was. I'm not gonna lie, that was a good move by AEW. Like it's something that people have been saying WWE should do for a while, make a women's mid card title. But for AEW to actually make it happen, like I'm interested to see how they operate with it, because I
knew that shit was coming in the universe. I called it.
No, look at you, third eye open. Speaking of you, do you feel like Bryan Danielson gets a rematch against Omega, or is he going to have to work his way up to it? So does he get an immediate rematch, or is he going to have to work his way through the roster to get a title match versus Omega? Because it was non-title on Dynamite last week.
Yeah, he's gonna have to be. Yeah, it's gonna be. He's gonna have to go through a couple of the elite and maybe one other person who's non-elite who's also protected. Because that's the thing. Like it's like watching WCW at a certain point where you just know who's gonna have to go through who to get to where, kind of thing. So that's what he's gonna have to go through. The question is it gonna be 2 matches? Because it ain't gonna be just one. I know that. Is it gonna be 2 matches, or is it gonna be like 6?
Down?
Yeah, like is it gonna be 2 or 6? That's the real question. 2 or 6 matches, and I feel like there's no in between. It's really gonna be 2 or like 6 matches, because you know how they get crazy like that.
Yeah, they love that win-loss record. It apparently means a lot. So we'll see.
They need to start patting his thing, so he build up wins and blah blah blah.
So Mark, I want to ask you this one. This one was submitted. I'm assuming this is a Chan question, but over under on Montez Ford WrestleMania main events.
Talk about it.
I want to go over because I just love watching Montez Ford. And this is nothing to the thing that annoys me, and I think what the internet does a whole lot. I mean, one of the worst instances of it was Migos being on top of the world and Twitter themselves, "Hey Quavo, Please go solo. Hey, Takeoff, you could do this by yourself. Offset, hey, how about you drop a solo album? And then they all drop 3 solo albums, and you feel your way about each of those 3 albums until they make their way back into making some good stuff as a trio again. And then you realize, wow, we kind of wasted like a good couple of months of trying to separate this like really good group, right? This is not something that I want to indicate as saying break up the Street Profits, because I love Angelo Dawkins too.
Yeah.
Watching him grind for those years in NXT to be able to be where he is now on SmackDown with Montez Ford is amazing. His tag team, being able to hold a tag team championship in the WWE is something that is very, very coveted. But having the opportunity that Montez Ford had to fight Roman Reigns was literally a WWE 2K match. Just throw around and see, hey, let's try this out. We obviously have to fight the Usos on Sunday, but why not have Montez Ford face Roman Reigns? See how those two gel, and people fucking loved it. People
Material.
To be able to see the athleticism, the selling, the story that Montez Ford can tell in the ring is something that people want to see a whole lot more of. Will that come into maybe a little bit of an odd breakup? It doesn't necessarily have to, because New Day has done plenty of solo stuff, and they're dapping each other up every week on different shows. They've been on different shows for months until Big E just came back to Raw 2 weeks ago. It can be done without having to break up the Street Profits. I don't think it's 100% necessary, but people want to see more athletes like Montez Ford being able to get this type of shine and be able to get the type of highlights and thrill that he gives in the ring that I think a lot of people will appreciate.
Yeah.
Who will he fight in a WrestleMania main event? We'll have to see. I mean, I will admittedly say I am scared shitless of Roman Reigns right now. He has beat way too many legends right now for me to feel comfortable of him fighting anyone of this nature right now, especially going into Dallas for WrestleMania, but would love to see Montez Ford have more opportunities in that solo area.
I think we can book in the next 2 to 3 years Montez wins a Royal Rumble and goes on to WrestleMania.
Imagine how the roof...
The pop.
It'll be electric.
Watching Montez Ford grab those ropes and go fucking crazy after he just won a Royal Rumble and the pyro's going off.
Yeah, man. It's right there. Like it's just no denying it. It's not a matter of if but when, really.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. So perfect. Great job with the free writes, gentlemen. We're gonna get into our rewrite. As y'all know, I am leader of All My Niggas Hate Carry On Cross Hive. However, there is some interesting things for us to tackle with some time passing since his initial first run with the NXT title. Can't really call it a run. He held it for like a couple of days. His subsequent run, and now he's a mainstay on Raw. So he was previously a member of TNA, Lucha Libre, AAA Worldwide, Major League Wrestling, debuted in NXT in 2020, went on the win streak that they love to give to new acts, and then eventually his win streak culminated in an NXT title win over Keith Lee at TakeOver. However, he had to relinquish the title immediately due to injury. So I want to know, fellas, if Karrion Kross never has to relinquish that title, where does he go from there? Who does he face, and when does he eventually lose that title? Go ahead.
So I'm going to start out because it's going to be probably like the most deviation from real life. First off, I want people to know I'm a man of principle, and there's some things I don't support, but I don't need my NXT champion having certain values. So the first thing I'm changing is he's not even in that feud. He's in a North American title feud. So that's what you get. And so basically, we're going to, for the NXT Championship match, we're going to put Finn Balor in that spot against Keith Lee. I feel like obviously those are two great wrestlers. They can give you a nice underdog story. You give a nice moment with Finn Balor, especially on his more like heelish side. I think you could have a little bit of chicanery where he gets the title off Lee. He becomes champion. Lee goes onto the main roster, and you don't have to have the whole like fatal four-way thing. Then you put Karrion Kross, which I wish they could keep the name Killer Kross, because that's a way cooler name. Like Killer Kross just like sounds like Killer Croc. It's just a cool name. I love it. I wish I kept that. But you put him in the NXT North American Championship ladder match. That was the same night. You take out one of my former favorite wrestlers who I've since had to let go of as well, Velveteen Dream. Again, I can't have certain people wrestling for my company. So you have Karrion Kross in that match, let him win the North American title match. Then you kind of follow a similar trajectory of what Damian Priest followed on after winning the match, but you have a little bit different stuff. So you have the feud with Gargano, kind of like he had with an NXT championship match, Johnny wrestling the way. You get some good, women on women spots with Scarlett and Candice you could have had. I think there's, good matches there. You add Leon Ruff into like the weekly stuff, I don't know if you necessarily let him beat Karrion Kross. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but I think him being into that feud is kind of like a nuisance. Like Karrion Kross can like toss him literally halfway across the ring, probably just because he's so tiny. Like you can get some good spots, I think, out of the three of them. I do think what you do at Stand and Deliver that I think could be interesting. And so as that Stand and Deliver, Ciampa faced Walter for the United Kingdom Championship, which you knew just was never gonna he's never gonna win that one. He's not British, and also it's like, why would you give it to Tommaso Ciampa? But I think what you could have had instead is like, and which is something I've kind of fantasy booked for a while now, is NXT should have a Survivor Series style matches with NXT UK. I think you could have North American champion Karrion Kross versus United Kingdom champion Walter. You have two big meaty white men who, that appeals to a certain group of people. You have Walter, the ring general with Imperium. You have Karrion Kross kind of on the darker, more magic-y side. I think you get like some nice shoot fighting because they both really, get to it. And I think you just have a really good match. I think it does something for both of them. The end, you probably have Walter win just because Walter doesn't really lose except for when he almost died at the hand of Dragunov. So I think you let Walter win that match, but you have a good kind of match beating both of them up. And eventually, before Kross obviously goes to the main roster, you have him drop the title to Swerve and Hit Row. This way you can premiere Hit Row in a marquee match, have them kind of interfere, which keeps Kross looking, relatively strong. You have, Scarlett versus Be Nasty, which can be kind of funny because I've seen fights like that when I was in high school, and it was pretty fun to watch. So I can imagine that would be like watching on NXT. But then you have that, and then you can obviously have Kross debut on the main roster. I'm all for you guys know I'm always for some demon dark stuff. So I really prefer his older entrance to the more Spartan-esque thing. I think you can't have the skirt and the helmet. It's just a little too much.
Yeah,
you got to pick one. And I think they do it both, and it's too much. I think you got to go back to the Fall and Pray and kind of go along that line. You don't have to have him be legitimately magic, but kind of on the more Aleister Black, I'm dark and mysterious, but I also fight people type thing. Not to tell you to do Karrion Kross. I think you keep him out of the championship match because honestly, for his own mental health, the way that Adam Cole spoke to him, I don't think you should have another grown man talk to you like that. So I think it would have probably saved him a lot of sleepless nights having Kyle O'Reilly bar you up in a denim vest with a mohawk
and a slap.
That's another grown man.
Yeah,
I think it saves Walter just a lot. I mean, Karrion Kross a lot of heartache, and I think you kind of keep him strong also in the North American title match with those different feuds.
Okay, Mark, how about you, man? How would you have done the story of Karrion Kross?
Channing does bring up a lot of magic that I think it ended up taking me out of after a certain while because eventually it just ended up disappearing. When he was on his way, obviously in his on his undefeated streak in NXT, and then making his way to Keith Lee, which I would have loved to see Keith Lee have the bigger run that he had with both the NXT Championship and the North American Championship. I think that Great American Bash shot of him holding both belts is one of the greater photos he probably had in his entire career. So I was like, holy shit, they're going to put everything in front of Keith Lee right now. He's about to whoop so many people's ass. Into that feud, going into their championship match, you got a lot less of Karrion on the mic, and Scarlett kind of held that down. So she held down the mysterious part while Karrion, he might have been on the mic for a small amount of time, but it was very short. He wasn't really telling too many stories. He wasn't really doing too much of that. Scarlett was telling the long stories of history and time, and you kind of got interested from it because, one, obviously you'll more than likely want to listen to whatever is coming from Scarlett's mouth once you see her on TV. And on top of the fact that she's telling you that, in this amount of time, your time is up. And Keith Lee was
the hourglass is hard.
Exactly.
Hard.
Yeah,
she just put it in the ring and turn it over. That was hard.
I was like, yo, people should be nervous, scared. And Keith Lee was not falling for it. obviously. And during the time that the contract signing started to become, or when it began, you get Keith Lee opening up his little book, his little pamphlet, and a fucking fireball just hits him in the face. Just completely hits Keith Lee in the face, damn near blinds him. So now you're like, holy shit, what the hell's gonna happen to Keith Lee? Where did this damn fireball come from? What other powers do Scarlett and Karry and Cross have that we don't know about? Because if you're putting fireballs in a damn contract, what else are you going to do when it's time to fight for the NXT Championship? The match in itself, I was a little bit underwhelmed at the ending of it.
Yeah.
And needless to say, I did not like that Keith Lee lost the NXT Championship. But then you realize that, what was it, his rotator cuff? He messed up his he messed up his shoulder, and now we're not getting any Karrion Kross for a decent amount of time. So now it's no Scarlett, no Karrion, and the funniest part was NXT said, all right, we got 4 guys, let's go. We got them ready. You like them better than you do Karrion Kross anyway. Shoot him in there. Get that NXT Championship with somebody else. Boom. You get Adam Cole with his second reign in the NXT Championship. And they replace it fairly easy. And I think when I started realizing that, seeing him return and getting a very quick shot back at the NXT Championship, I was like, a lot of the lore that I was kind of interested in the beginning, it's kind of not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he's now taking the mic over a whole lot more, seeing a whole lot less Scarlett. And granted, that also doesn't even count any of the news that you're starting to see people bring out for Karrion Kross on Twitter. That's also making him move back just a little bit. But then you kind of think, okay, you start seeing him entertain Santos Escobar, and you start thinking, is he going to go for the Cruiserweight Championship?
Which would have been insane.
Yeah, I was like, are you sure you want to do that? I mean, you could fight Santos. It's going to be a good match. But Cruiserweight titles, what you want right now?
Also, I'm supposed to believe you're 205 pounds?
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking?
I'm like, wait a minute.
What is
how
this
light
crazy?
how light did you get? So as much as I was
Just
like,
body Keith Lee, like
he just took Keith Lee and threw him over his damn shoulder off the top of the turnbuckle. So I'm starting to talk myself into like, okay, are we doing Karry and Santos? I wasn't that mad because now you get him away from Finn. And we get a whole lot more of what's coming with him and Kyle O'Reilly and what they're doing with that. But then him automatically getting put back into that picture and beating still a red hot Finn Balor at that point in time and getting the NXT Championship back, being one of the very rare 2-time NXT champions that we do have, I think just put people off. I think it put people off. It's unfortunate that the injury ended up affecting that a whole lot, but had that not happened, I think we would have seen, or at least been able to entertain a whole lot more of the lore and the mystery that you kind of did enjoy from an Aleister Black. Now, Aleister Black wasn't putting fucking fireballs in people's eyes, but you would have been able to do a whole lot more of that in NXT had he been healthy. I still would prefer Keith Lee going over against Karrion Kross in their first match for the NXT Championship, because I think people were very interested in having Keith Lee main roster. Let's push him. Let's put whatever belt on him, make him win the Royal Rumble. And granted, we've received what we have seen since then. And right now, everything that we want for Keith Lee right now is just to be healthy, be safe, and we'll take whatever they give him as far as whatever run that he gets for the remaining time that he has in WWE. But being able to enjoy it a little bit more in NXT would have been, in my eyes, a bit more beneficial for me if they extended that a little bit further. If Keith Lee goes over and Karrion doesn't get injured, you can entertain it further down the line. You could do it again months from now. You could do it next month. And maybe Karrion still gets the NXT Championship. I wasn't really that mad at Karrion getting the NXT Championship. I was more so mad at Karrion getting it so early when Keith Lee just had a huge, major coronation. And it came at him going to the main roster, but being able to have him enjoy a very nice, solid run in NXT with a roster that, I mean, you've listed everybody that you've listed a good amount of people that replaced Karrion very early. Balor came back. Adam Cole won the title again. Kyle O'Reilly was still their champion. Gargano have held things down for years without any complaints. I give praise to Gargano because even with all of that, he was still able to make the faction of the way and made NXT great for months and months and months.
Yeah.
You had Bronson Reed that was fighting for the North American Championship at that time, Pete Dunne, Damian Priest, to be able to have him in between all of those and flirt with the NXT Championship was something that I think would have had him in better position than him being skyrocketed to that title, losing it due to your rotator cuff, coming back and then getting it back so easy at the hands of a Finn Balor who has been slicing and dicing for months on end since he left the main roster and coming to NXT.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, my rewrite would have been to keep Keith Lee there a little more. Like, when we knew he was money, ever since that Survivor Series matchup with Roman, where like it was him and Roman left, we knew, oh, Keith Lee he's like that. Like, he needs to be on the main roster soon. But for his run to be stifled, like, he lost it to Karry On in his second title defense. I think he was only champion for like 40 days, something like that. And obviously it ends up better for him in the long run, going to the main roster, beating Randy Orton, being against Bobby and Riddle and getting a title match against Drew. But I think if you have Karry On have to work a little more to get that, or if he can still beat Keith Lee the first match, but you keep Keith Lee there for like 2 more matches, because our whole thing with that Keith Lee Karry On match was like, this is different than NXT matches. NXT main events, title matches, they're 30 minutes, 40 minutes, a bunch of kickouts. They're just long classics, and those are great. But Karry On and Keith were more like physical, like in your face, like real gritty. It might be 15, 20, but it's a good 15, 20. Big, meaty men slapping meat, and then Karry On wins it. So we didn't really get enough of that different flavor because Keith leaves, Karry On gets hurt, and it goes right back to, we're going to do this Iron Man championship scramble hybrid type match between Finn, Cole, Tommaso, Gargano, and then Finn gets a title, and he's putting on these 30-minute, 40-minute classes with Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne and all that. And it was like, damn, we got this taste of something we wanted to see in NXT, but we just didn't get enough of it because of the injury and Keith leaving. So I agree. I definitely would have had like 3 matches between Keith and Karry On. Keith can lose. Keith can lose the title, get decisively beaten twice, and then go up to the main roster and still flourish. But like, at least we get to see him have that moment with both belts. Obviously, he surrenders the North American belt, but he's still a proud NXT champion. He loses, and he's a babyface with an edge. And then he gets put out of NXT, and then he comes to Raw like, all right, nah, it's my time now. So I agree. I think an extended Keith Karry On feud would have really made people warm up to Karry On a little more. Because, like, admittedly, like, when he first came in, the undefeated streak, like, we was fucking with him. And then, like you said, he got hurt. We found out everything about his personal life, and it's hard to separate personal life with the wrestling character. And then when he came back, we were just like, oh, all right. I mean, I guess, whatever. But I think a marquee feud with Keith, and even shit, you could have involved Mia in the shit. Like, I know some people are iffy on those couples storylines. Oh my! But you could have had Keith and Mia versus Karry On and Scarlett. And I think that would have made it even better in NXT before you took Karry On in any other direction. Because I think eventually Finn would have got the title off of him, but Karry On probably would have like destroyed Kyle O'Reilly, beaten Damian Priest, beaten Bronson Reed, just to show he can beat a variety of opponents and give us very different matches. But I completely agree. I think the timing of it was just like, damn, like that's.
And to me, the power wasn't Scarlett. The interest wasn't Scarlett. Even if you keep the injury and he comes back for his second run, you separate so much of what made people interested in Karrion Kross before, and now you're hearing him in ways that you just don't really care about because the way he was presented to us in the first time is now completely different. And it's unfortunate that that's what's happening to him on Raw right now. People could give. I'm trying to even think of a good terminology for how people care about Karrion Kross on Raw, because there's no Scarlett. You see him coming out in this gear that ends up being, joked about.
Yeah.
Having matches where he's ending up winning in questionable ways, and now when he loses, people are questionable in that, and like, oh man, you're making him lose on his birthday, and then people are going to find ways to complain about those types of things in general. But the interest was in the eeriness, the lore, the thing that he had, and I'm sure he's fucking pissed right now that he doesn't have Scarlet. I'm pretty sure he's fucking pissed that he doesn't have Scarlet with him right now for whichever reasons that we still do not know. But when you took that and you took a whole lot of what had brought you to the dance at that point in time, for however short that it was only a couple of months or so. You take that away, it feels a whole lot different. On top of the fact that you're beating people's favorites, it makes you less of a enjoyable person to watch from a lot of people in the community.
100%.
I'm gonna keep mine motherfucking short and sweet. He drops to Keith Lee. They have a little feud. Keith Lee gets it back, and then that motherfucker goes to the main roster. See you later. I don't care. Let Keith Lee get an actual reign. Bye. That's how I want to see it. And it's so ironic that we all wanted Keith Lee to have some shine, because he's getting some shine. I appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, overall, what would y'all, like, your takes on the Karry on Cross project be? Because I think it had a lot of potential, it had a lot of upside, and it sucks that his injury derailed him because he can't control that. But, like, how would y'all grade the Karry on Cross project, I guess?
Oof.
I think the cure for the common bum is typically partnering with Dolph Ziggler. So I would normally say that.
Oh no.
Because that's usually how we, help those things out. But what I think would have been interesting, and this is if you keep him with Scarlett or if you separate him, I think he could have been a nice enforcer for The Miz. I think that would have been a good look. Put him in like a suit, have The Miz do the talking so he didn't have to talk, and have him, instead of do the whole Spartan thing, have him just be like, oh, like, this guy is my, like, killer. Like, this is my guy who, like, he handles my business, like, for me type. Like, last time I was here, Bobby, snuck me, and John, I couldn't depend on John, but this guy, like, he works for me. And I think because people like The Miz so much, that could help him get over. I think the issue with Karry and Cross, like I said, is with the way the internet and social media is today, it's very hard to, like, separate a wrestler from who they are in real life. And if you have something like that stands out to so many different people, it's just going to be very, very hard to really get a high grade on something like that. Just at this point, like, it's just one of those things where the internet is so ubiquitous. Like, people just know so much stuff. And we're just at a point in wrestling, like, with all the other different companies, like, we talk about it a lot, like, even stuff you'll watch on AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact. We just have such a glut of wrestling talent where, like, people don't have to just watch something just because it's on TV. Like, people don't have to like Karry Cross just because he's wrestling Jeff Hardy. Like, you can watch a different show. You can watch Moose, you can watch NXT UK, you watch Walter, you can watch, all these different things where if you want just like a bigger guy wrestling, you can find that. And so I think it's going to be hard for Karry until he really gets like a whole repackage to get over anything higher than like a B-. Like, he's the type of guy who, like, you want to see your favorite wrestler beat at this point. Like, you would want to see Ricochet beat him. Like, that's kind of where he's at right now, which isn't the worst place to be. People make a lot of money doing that kind of stuff, but it's not something where you ever, like, no one's ever going to be excited for, the Karry and Cross, Intercontinental title push at this point. That's just kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, there it is. So I think it's so interesting. we had a lot to say, but not that much, because I genuinely just don't fuck with Karry on Cross at all. Like, I really don't.
It just is what it is. It's not will. It's not disdain. We don't hope he gets in a crash next week or anything. It's not anything bad. It's just like, it's just not. At a certain point, when you try to come back, you got exposed by a lot of people that wrestle better than you, that talk better than you. And they let you know it very well when you fought 4 of them for the NXT championship. And granted you won.
Beating your ass.
Yeah, they were whooping your fucking ass. And it's those types of things are very remembered. Or it's things that don't leave a lot of people's brains when you now have this main roster run. You're trying to convince people, hey, this is a very serious killer and he's going to put you to sleep whenever he can. It's just we saw what happened in NXT.
Yeah,
he came here as NXT champion, and there were not many people interested.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting parallel that you can draw to Finn Balor, for example, because Finn won the inaugural Universal Champion, gets hurt immediately, has to drop it. But when he comes back, teams with Hideo Itami. He goes on, fighting on with Seth and Miz for the Intercontinental title. I think he beat, who did he beat? He beat Roman. No, he beat Roman before he got hurt. He beat Roman to get into the Universal title match, the inaugural one. But then he's Intercontinental champion for a while, feuding with Bobby. And then he goes away again because he needs a break. And then he comes back on a third run in NXT. He's hot. He's
Fiend. He got Fiend. He goes away.
You're right.
Fiended.
You're right.
But my boy Bray was taking people out of their fucking babyface runs.
Right.
Pulling scalps.
Which was perfect, though, because it really helped that new Bray character get over in that way. Then Finn comes back again, and we saw what he did in NXT the last 2 years. Like, there aren't enough words to describe that NXT run. The matches he had, the character, the way in which he separated himself from the Demon and was just excellent, like promo-wise. That just like tweener, but more towards a heel type archetype character type shit. The matches he had, like he really had NXT on his back. And it's like, damn, like that could have been Carry On, but the difference is we liked Finn. We wanted to see great shit for Finn, and we just didn't feel that connection to Carry On. So it's like, oh, you're back. Cool, I guess. And they hot shot you to the title and you beat Finn, like Marc has said so many times, like a red hot Finn who we were all excited for in NXT. Like there are some parallels in their experiences, but ultimately, like the cream rises to the top. Finn is always going to give you a good match. Finn is always an intriguing character, and Carry On, like the mystique of it, the eeriness of it is just it's gone. Like we don't feel the same anymore. So it's kind of just like, oh, whatever, cool.
And I feel like people knew. Like once we saw Karrion Kross versus Finn Balor, everybody was like, Triple H, please don't do this. Please, please, you really don't have to do this. Just don't choose to do it. And then you saw how it went down. The forearm went straight to the back of his neck, and I said he's gonna do it, isn't he? And then he lost the championship.
Yeah. So
at the end of the day, Triple H love a forced title run. I mean, who was talking? He said, "You guys don't want him to have the title." Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah.
That's why I say Charlotte is the woman version of Triple H.
Every 3 to 4 months, it's like, you know what I haven't had in a while?
Yeah.
Title run. Let's go.
Why not?
What else am I doing?
Oh, yeah.